Hi, there's Joe. Been to Agni. Hi, Joe. Hi, how are you? I'm good. I'm great. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well too. Super happy to be back here in September. Really grateful to all of you who are joining. Resort to Health. I love that. Hi, Maria. Hi, Resort to Health. Hi, Three Angel Hearts. I'm back in our office. Come back in here. It's a beautiful day where I am, although the sky is very hazy here in California. So please pray for all of our firefighters and everybody who are battling the incredible fires that we're having here in California. And it's incredible. You can see kind of the haze, and over the weekend in my backyard, you could see it was red from the fires. So there are many people that we need to give gratitude. Firefighters on the front lines here in California always do such extraordinary work in this heat, which is really unbelievable. I'm really happy to be back here. Really happy to be talking today to Jay Shetty. This is his new book. It's called Think Like a Monk. Train your mind for peace and purpose every day. And I love that. Anytime I have spent time with monks, and I have spent time with monks, I have found it to be unbelievably peaceful. I've always admired their ability to meditate for hours on end, to be at peace, to understand how to use the mind, the tool of the mind. And I think everybody I talk to these days feels a bit out of sorts, feels anxious, feels worried. And I think learning how to control your emotions, learning how to train your mind is really apropos for this moment. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Jay. His book came out yesterday. If you follow him, you probably saw him advertising it. Think like a monk, think like a monk. So I think that's great. I'm really happy that he's doing this conversation with us. Mary Faley, good to have you back, Grandma. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm really happy to be a grandma. It's a miracle to witness that, a miracle to witness your child have a child. So that is really a gift. I'm so grateful that I'm alive to see that. So that is a gift. And there's Jay Shetty, and he's because he's super busy. He's doing some virtual book tour all around the world, and so he's joining us. There's Jay Shetty.
Hey, Maria, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good. It's so great to see you.
It's so great to see you. What are all those pictures behind you? Tell me
This,
where you are.
oh yeah, absolutely. So this is my podcast studio where we record. It's also partly my office. And so these are all different people, places, and moments in history that have impacted me personally.
Wow.
So we have every city that I've lived in. So you've got New York, we've got London, obviously, where I was born and raised, and then we have India. Over here, we have this beautiful temple from India that I love, this walkway of. And then just loads of pictures of inspirational people that make me feel happy and motivated to become better and improve every day.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. I try to surround myself with words and images and quotes that inspire me,
Yeah.
that lift me up every day. So I'm so glad that you just shared that little.
Yeah, let me show you this one actually. Now that you say quotes, let me, seeing as we both like quote, there's this one from Rose Mercario that says, "You're not afraid to be a warrior when you need to be a warrior." Love that one.
That's
And
true.
then there's this one. I don't know if you can see that.
Back.
There we go. From Marion Wright Edelman. Once you're free, you can't go back into the box.
That's for sure.
And this one's from Billie Jean King, which is one of my favorites as well. You're going to have setbacks. You've got to bounce back. You have to have fire in the belly every day, and just keep thinking how you want the world to look.
Oh, beautiful.
From Billie
That's so
Jean King.
great. So that's a good place for us to start, Jay, because I was saying that your new book came out yesterday, your first book, Think Like a Monk, Train your mind for peace and purpose every day. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've read it, and there are so many people you quote that you admire that have been influential in your life, and you talk a lot about intention. And so I think that's a good way to pick up off of the quote that you were just saying about thinking about the kind of world you want to live in. And so many people these days, Jay, I think are feeling out of sorts, feeling concerned, feeling anxious. And I thought it's such a great conversation for us to have about how to bring yourself to yourself, how to find peace within yourself, and how to approach this kind of uncertain time in the best possible way. So in this book,
Sorry,
I think we can.
sorry, it cut off there, Maria, when you said in this book, and then it cut out. Sorry.
So in this book, you're teaching us to train our minds to get to that place where we can control everything that's going on around us. So how do people do that? Train their minds.
Absolutely. So it's a big question, and it's a big answer in one sense as well. But one of the things I find is that you can't train when you're having the fight.
Yeah.
You have to train before it. You have to train away from it. So a sports athlete doesn't go onto the pitch and court and play the Super Bowl or play the NBA finals. They're training in the training ground. And so we have to ask ourselves, where is our training ground in our life? Have we created a sacred space every single day, a sacred time where we're training our mind? What is our training stadium that is preparing us for the rest of the day? And in the book, I give 4 very simple habits that I believe are integral to anyone's training system. And those are these 4 habits that come in form of the acronym TIME, T-I-M-E. So
Right.
T stands for thankfulness, I stands for inspiration, M stands for meditation, and E stands for exercise. And I believe this is just a great foundation of training that sets us up for the right day and the right week.
So you believe that it's imperative to every day approach time so that when things start to throw you off your game, start to upset you, make you feel out of sorts, you've actually laid a foundation to manage your day, basically.
Absolutely. So the world is going to be uncertain. We know that. We've seen that. And we're seeing it in its most extreme form right now.
Right.
And the only way we can find certainty in uncertainty is by creating it ourselves, by saying, no matter what, this is my daily practice. No matter what day of the week is it, this will never change. And because I can rely on that, because we choose to do that, it now means that we have our shield, we have our protection, we have our armor on, so that now we can go about the day dealing with all the various challenges and uncertainty that will arise, but feeling protected, feeling connected.
Yeah, you write it a lot in the book, and I love that about fear and about how to use fear to your advantage and to really try to figure out what is it that you're actually afraid of. And you write in the book that kind of trying to go below your fear to really discovering what is it that you were fundamentally afraid of, and it had to do with your parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really important. One of the big key principles of the monk mindset, or thinking like a monk, is to go to the root of every issue.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us in our lives, we spend a lot of time on the branches or the leaves or the distractions, but we never get to go to the root of the issue. And so how do we get to the root of the issue is by the simple practice of questioning ourselves. And so when we say, oh, I'm feeling anxious about this, or I'm feeling stressed about this, or I feel pressure about this, asking ourselves the simple question, why?
Yeah.
Why do I feel anxious about this? And then you'll come up with an answer. Your mind will come up with an answer. And then again, listen to that answer that your mind gives you. And again, ask, why?
Right.
And then your mind will come up with another answer and it will give you an answer. And then again, listen, hear it, listen to it. And again, ask why. And when you do that multiple times, I call this the why ladder in the book, you finally find the root of that anxiety. And you finally go, I now know what I'm working with. I know what is actually affecting me. And now we're not distracted or avoiding the actual reason for our fear. And we turn false fear into a healthy and useful fear.
Why do you think, Jay, that it's important for us to think like monks? What is it that you think how will that make the world, or particularly what's going on in the world right now, better?
So after living as a monk for 3 years, I started studying and reading about the research behind the minds and brains of monks.
Right.
And a number of studies show that monks have the happiest, most calm and compassionate brains on the planet. So when they scanned the brains of monks, they found that monks have the highest form of gamma waves, which is linked to happiness, attention, and joy and presence. And so I imagine a world where, imagine if everyone lived with compassion in their heart, lived with sincerity in their soul, and lived with non-judgment in their relationships. What an incredible world would we create if we were all operating from that space. And by the way, I'm aspiring for that too. We all are.
Right.
And I just got really fascinated by how in the world today, if we wanted to learn, let's say we wanted to learn about tennis, we'd want to learn from Serena Williams. If we wanted to learn about performance, maybe we'd want to learn from Beyonce. But if we think about all our challenges today, they're all mental and emotional. So many of our daily challenges. And the people that have dedicated their life to mastering the mind are monks. And so that's why thinking like a monk is so integral to the world today, I believe.
You write in the book, which is really true, is that it's one thing to think and kind of adopt the mindset of a monk while you're in the ashram or while you're surrounded by monks. And I've had the blessing of being surrounded many times by monks, or going to Dharamsala in India. And then you feel totally at peace and you're like, I've got this. And then you go back into your world and you're in journalism or you're in politics and people are screaming, and all of a sudden you lose that person that you were, oh, I thought I had that. And you talked about kind of the struggle you had in adapting from the ashram to, quote, regular life. How do you stay in that place? You're saying being non-judgmental in relationships, how you imagine you'd like to be. It's difficult given everything going on in the world. And you're
For
saying,
sure.
is it the ritual?
I think the first thing is realizing that even the habit or the conditioning or mindset we have today has been learned. So even who we think we are today isn't necessarily who we are. It's just what we picked up along the way from school and from university and college and parenting and relationships. Like the version of ourselves, the identity we hold today may not even have been crafted intentionally. So I think first realizing that the way we think today may not be a way we've chosen. And maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a higher way. Maybe there's just a different way. I think being open to that is the first step. Mm-hmm. The second thing is recognizing the difference between immersion and then also daily practice. So immersion is like what you said. So every year, me and my wife, we still go back to the ashram and we live there for 2 to 3 weeks with the monks. I get to go to my roots again and really feel deeply connected. And that immersion for 2 to 3 weeks a year really sets me up to try and maintain that. But it's a daily challenge. And that's where that daily practice comes in of, am I surrounding myself with people that are helping me question my beliefs and grow? Am I surrounding my mind with ideas that are expanding my mind, not contracting? Am I always every day reminding myself with who I want to become? I think it's really important that we have a list. There's a beautiful story of Benjamin Franklin and how in his life he had 13 precepts that he aspired to become. And they included things like tranquility, simplicity, integrity. And he'd say that often he failed at them, just like we all do. I fail at my values all the time. And he would say that he would sometimes eat too much, he would drink too much, he would spend too much money. But at the end of his life, he was asked which of the 13 did he not accomplish? And he said it was the 13th one. And they said, what was that? And he said it was humility. And so I believe that we can all have 13 precepts. We can have 12 values that we know bring joy. See, we all know the values that don't bring joy to our life.
Yeah.
So why not have a list of the values that we know we're aspiring for, even if we fail every day?
You talk a lot in this book about detachment and about how that is one of the main principles of the monk lifestyle. And I think that's something I myself have struggled with and still try to work on, letting go, detaching, understanding, as you write in the book, that everything here is borrowed, right? Including our children, our homes. We don't own anything. And if we can get to that place of understanding that we're really just a path through. How do you get to that place?
Yeah, so that is a place that we're working towards every day. And it comes with, first of all, the beautiful understanding that you just shared is recognizing that everything has a time limit on it. Our time on this earth,
Yeah.
our time with the people we love. And if there's a time limit on it, then we realize we don't own it because it's not ours forever. Just as we have a home and we may rent it for some time and someone else will rent it, or we own it and someone else will own it after hours. That's the same, but there's an eternal consciousness and spark that's forever there. And so the more we connect to our deeper spiritual identity, the less we're connected to the material identity. That doesn't mean we don't love our families, and it doesn't mean we don't work really hard, and it doesn't mean we're not caring. Actually, what it means is that you cherish it even more because you realize it's a gift in your life. Imagine you dealt with everyone in your life realizing that they were a gift in some way and you were a caretaker for some time. It would actually make you even more appreciative and grateful to have them.
Do you think that that would help in our current political environment if we all just kind of detached from our quote position, our philosophy of being right, or our way is the right way, and kind of understood that we're all kind of passing through and that we don't own our privilege, we don't own these things, so we shouldn't be bothered if somebody else wants the same things or wants to enjoy what we have, that we should be able to kind of, in our best way, give it,
I
share
think,
it.
yeah, I think we should be striving to create a community and a world where we're seeking the best for others.
Mm.
And the challenge with that is that everyone thinks they know what is best and they think they know what is right. And I think if we were able to get to a point of not being right and wrong or win or lose, but we were able to rise to a place of diversity and embracing people for where they're at and where they're currently, what they're struggling with, then that's the right intention. But politics or economics or any of those forms of structure require structure. So what we're really talking about is often people say, well, Jay, how can spirituality affect any of this? Because, you know, spirituality is not structural. And the point is that you can create structure through deep spiritual intention. And when you create that structure with a much deeper intention, the structure you create will be much more beautiful. But if you create structures from your ego, or you
Yeah.
create structures from pride or from ownership, then that won't create the right structure. So where spiritual advice is useful is in purifying our intention, and then we can use our intellect and our minds to come up with the best strategies and the best structures for governance. But we have to be fueled by this purified consciousness and purified intent.
You talk in the book, which I love, that you said that parents often say to their kids, you can be anything you want to be. And you said, like, that's not true. You can, you can be everything you are. And that really, that our job is to be everything we are, to know what each of us are, what each of us are capable of being. And that's what we should go out and do. So many people struggle with, I can't find my passion, I can't find my purpose, I want to live a passion and purpose filled life, but I don't know what it is. And I think you talk a lot about Dharma and finding your way and knowing when you're in your Dharma. Can, for someone who's out there right now struggling with that question, why am I here, why can't I figure out my Dharma, my calling, my purpose? is there one or two things that they could do now that might help them drop into that?
Yes, wonderful question. So I realized this struggle because I felt it myself. I think I've been on this journey of trying to discover my purpose for the last 10 years. And I feel very actively engaged in my purpose today. And so, speaking from my experience and also the model of Dharma. So, Dharma, if anyone who's never heard of it before, is an ancient Sanskrit word. And it means in English can be translated to eternal purpose or inherent potential or your natural propensity and your natural inclination. And so if we use it as the word purpose, then Dharma, and we'll do it as an equation, purpose equals passion plus strengths plus compassion. So when you're looking for your purpose, there are three entry points. And when you find the symbiotic synergy of all three of them, that is purpose. So the first is passion. And you may say, like you said, Maria, Jay, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I'm passionate about. Well, passion is like a teenager. And then interest is like a child. And curiosity is the birth. So your passion, the birthplace of curiosity, your passion is curiosity. So what are you curious about? What are you just tiny little bit interested in that you can read books about, watch documentaries about, you ask questions about? That's passion. Then the second entry point is strengths. What are your natural strengths that you have that you just are good at? People notice it, they recognize it, they acknowledge you for them. And what are those natural skill sets that you've developed over time? And the third entry point to purpose is compassion. I know so many people that found their purpose not through passion, but through their pain. They found what they wanted to do in the world because they lost someone or they lost something, and they never want anyone to experience that again.
Yeah.
And so these are three different ways to uncovering your purpose. But when you see it as the formula, you now can go through each of them and try and focus on which one you have. So that's how I would go about doing it today.
I think the really kind of takeaway of all of these things, trying to understand your fear, trying to understand perhaps your anger, trying to figure out where your purpose, your passion, your curiosity is to really allocate time to question yourself.
Yes.
Right. When I think of the monks, I think, wow, they have a lot of time, right? They're meditating, but they're really going below the thing, below the thing, below the thing. And that in this rushing world where everybody's distracted, and you write a lot about that, people don't allocate the time to understand who they actually are and who kind of they are maybe at 40 is different than at 30. And I'm very different today than I was at your age. So the depth of knowledge, somebody just wrote here, is your responsibility.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah. No, I think that's beautiful. And, the way we think about it is that you can't, people will say, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And the truth is that imagine the difference between walking into a room and feeling completely scattered, completely distracted, and just trying to figure everything out. And then imagine having spent 10 minutes, 20 minutes clearing your mind, gaining clarity, calming yourself, and then coming into that room. Just think for a moment how your presence would be different, and how it would impact others and how it would impact you. And so when we think that we don't have time for 10 or 20 minutes, we actually end up costing ourselves more time and more energy and more money that's wasted in trying to be productive, effective, and creative. When actually that silence, that stillness, that space creates so much clarity. It's almost like if you need glasses and one day you went on a trip and you forgot your glasses, how long would it take you to do everything? But imagine that time when you put on your glasses and you're like, I can see everything clearly. And that's the difference between meditating every day and not.
Yeah, you tell a story in here about people who the difference between whether people acted as a good Samaritan after they had heard the story of the Good Samaritan, and then when they walked out onto the street and they saw somebody struggling, was whether they were in a hurry or not.
Yeah.
So people who were in a hurry even though they had just heard the parable of the Good Samaritan, walked right by the person in need. People who didn't feel that they were in a hurry stopped and took the time. So being in a hurry in your life, and that's something that I think so many people, you're raising kids now, you're teaching kids at home, you're trying to work at home, you're stressed out, you're anxious. People don't feel like they can take the time away, but you're talking about the benefits really to everybody around you. If you can separate yourself and slow down and approach every situation, whether it's you're teaching your kids at home, whether you're working over a Zoom or whatever, being in sync with yourself, slowing it down has incredible effects.
Yeah, and if again someone has an extremely busy life, the best way to do that is just to start and end everything you do with a little bit of patience. So, for example, if you're just about to rush into the car because you need to drop your children somewhere, just before you rush, just allow yourself to pause, allow yourself to take a few breaths, maybe say an affirmation or a line that really means something to you, and then go and do it. Just that tiny pause before it. And then as soon as you drop them off to wherever they're going, again, before you drive off and look at your phone, just pause for a second, breathe in, be present with yourself, and then drive again. And so there's you don't need to be taking out a ton of time all the time in the morning and the evening. Just do this small 30 seconds before and after each activity of the day. Before you send an email, just take a few moments. And after you send an email, take a few moments. And just doing that at the beginning and end of every activity, you'll find that it adds up to about 10 or 15 minutes anyway.
Jay, really finally, what of your teachers, those that you spend time with, the monks that you talk about, what do they think of this book?
That's a great question. They've been extremely encouraging in their natural monk ways, and at the same time reminding me of how long I have to go in my own journey to be able to practice half of what's in the book. So they've been both encouraging and humbling at the same time.
And one final story, there's two stories that really stuck with me. One was that you walked by with a monk and you saw another monk who was able to, I think, recite all the scriptures or something in a row.
Yeah.
And you said, wow, I'd really like to be able to do that. I want to be able to do that. And your elder teacher turned to you and said, do you want to be able to do that? Or do you want to be able to learn what he learned so that you can do that? And that they're two very different things. One is so being able to show people I can do that. And one is being focused on the teachings and the learnings below the lessons. And the other is the story about the mirror. Tell the story about the mirror in the book, which I love because my dad had this incredible quote he gave in a Yale commencement speech where he said to the graduating class, break the mirrors. Because if you break the mirror, you will see beyond you to a whole world out there that can benefit from your service. Because
I love that.
the servants will be the ones who save us all. But you need to break the mirrors because when you're looking in the mirror, you can only see yourself.
I love that. That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. I love that.
So
That's
tell
amazing.
your story about.
You'll have to send me that speech. I would love to watch that and absorb it.
Yeah, well, he was very much like that. He had a spirituality of politics, and he looked at it all from a social justice lens and felt that mirrors were the things that were separating us from the other person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you talk about in the ashram that the mirror, just tell really finally the story about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the days, and a lot of our lessons in the ashram were taught through nature or objects or observing. It wasn't all sitting in one place with a classroom. And so in one of these, we went down into this almost like slight basement area, and it was covered in like boxes and books and things like this. And there was a mirror that was there. And we went in front of the mirror, and the mirror was covered in dust. And I was asked what I could see. And I said, I see dust. And then the monk teacher that I was with, he started to rub his hand on the mirror, and all this dust that had probably been there for quite a while started to come off, and I was coughing and feeling really uncomfortable. And I have allergies. I think I have a dust allergy too. So I'm like rubbing my eyes and itching my nose. And he says, well, what do you see now? And I could see that as he'd rub the dust, I could start to see myself. And the lesson from that was that so much of our lives, we can't see our true selves because our true selves have been covered in dust, the dust of other people's expectations, the dust of our own mind and desires, the dust of our own challenges. And actually, when we start to purify ourselves and understand ourselves, we first cough and feel the pain of the dust. Like it can actually be quite a difficult process. But eventually, when we clean that and clarify that, we can actually come to the true understanding of ourselves. So I believe that we get clean and dusty every day. And so cleaning is a daily practice. Cleansing is a daily practice. And it's something that I continue to try and aspire to do today.
I love that story. Well, Jay Shetty, thank you. I know you're super busy. You're doing
No, thank
a global
you.
virtual tour. The book is Think Like a Monk, Train Your Mind for Peace and Purpose Every Day. We're going to have this conversation in the Sunday paper. I know a lot of people were saying here, I just ordered my book. Jay, you're amazing. I can't wait to read this book. And there's so many lessons, ancient lessons that are really apropos for a modern world and an anxious time in our modern world. And I think it also redirects you always back to you're in control. There is so much that we can learn, as you said, in nature by looking in the mirror, by clouding the mirror, by looking anew, and that you can approach your day from a place of peace and calm and intention, or you can approach it like a lunatic. It's really up to you. And the book kind of helps you train your mind. And I'm a big believer in training minds. And we study nuns and monks in our work for Alzheimer's. You know, so much of the work that we do trying to understand what keeps the brain fit and healthy and good. And so many of the minds of monks and nuns in particular are beautiful well into old age. So they do have many things to teach us. So Jay Shetty,
Amazing.
thank you. Congratulations on your book. And I wish you all the luck in the world.
Maria, I'm so grateful to you and I can't wait to be with you. And I'm so looking forward to spending time with you, honestly. And thank you so much for doing this. I deeply appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, okay, Jay Shetty left. There, he went away. So thank you all so much for joining us today for the conversation. The book is Think Like a Monk. We'll have this in the Sunday paper. Hopefully you get the Sunday paper. If you don't, go over to the Sunday paper and sign up. It's a free newsletter that comes out on Sundays, news and views above the noise. And it's kind of the newsletter for this time, I think. It brings you peace, it brings you perspective, it gives you tremendous insight and inspiration. So my hope is that you read it and that it helps you do many of the things that Jay was talking about today. So it's good to be back. Thank you, Jay Shetty, and thanks to all of you who joined us for this really inspiring and I hope really helpful conversation. Have a great day. You sure you want to end? Yeah.